a book review of Think Fast and Slow. We are going to present this book according to Joe's stories. So now let's go into Joe's life.
Joe hates any red food when he was a boy. The first time he tried pepper, he thought it intolerant. From then on, Joe refused any food whose color is red. As Joe grew older, he doubted himself when he learned more about food. That summer, he tasted a piece of watermelon. He loved this fruit. He did not refuse food by color anymore. Little Joe refused all red food because of impression of pepper. This is what we called System 1. System 1 operates automatically and quickly, with little or no effort and no sense of voluntary control. Joe was able to distinguish pepper from other red food after more knowledge and thinking. This is what we call the System 2. System 2 allocates attention to the effort for mental activities that demand it, including complex computations. System 1 is a decider in our actions, while System 2 monitors and controls thoughts and actions suggested by System 1. Let's go back to Little Joe. He was sure he would be a Superman, as in cartoons, Superman is the strongest. Later on, he realized that Superman is not a true profession. He only made up his decision to become a programming engineer in high school when he was really aware of his interests.
In the first year of kindergarten, our boy Joe is having his first outing. When picnicking beside the woods, boy Joe saw a snake. He didn't know what a snake was and went to play with it. Sure enough, he got bitten. It was painful and horrible. In the second outing, boy Joe saw a snake from a distance. He suddenly recalled all the pain and fear from last time and ran away immediately. His intuitive reaction is made by an emotional expert intuition. This intuition can be acquired through efforts, but expert intuition related to expertise, for example, the immediate reaction of firemen rescuing a fire, needs more effort and longer time to obtain.
The last System 2 also has bias when processing information. Let's see two examples of Joe. Firstly, if I ask you, does Joe weigh more than 200 pounds? Before I ask you, directly guess Joe's weight. Your brain was susceptible by the anchor 200 and do a quantity near 200. This is what we call the anchoring effect. And how about guess Joe's occupation? Firstly, I told you Joe is a programmer who is also a taekwondo instructor, and compared with telling you Joe is just a programmer, just a normal programmer, which one is more possible for you? Most people would say the first. Well, it is also another trap called conjunction fallacy. It is a fallacy that assumes a specific conditions are more probable than a single general one. This is also a trap for our System 2. Another trap for System 2 is called the regression to the mean. For instance, this day Joe made several basic mistakes when coding, for which his boss criticized him, and then in the second day, Joe performs well, and his boss owed his performance to this criticism, but his boss was wrong. Joe's performance was due to regression to the mean. In other words, his performance just come back to the average level in his daily life. Then how about System 1? Another day, as a movie lover, Joe commented a film studio. He said, yes, the studio has had 3 successful films since the new CEO took over, but it is too early to decline he has a hot hand. Here, Joe is so smart that he avoids the exaggerated face in small samples. In part 2, we also introduced some bias of System 1 and System 2. For System 1, it always has extreme predictions and a willingness to predict real events from weak evidence. Also, it always has overconfident judgments. And for System 2, it is very susceptible to regression and is very lazy, not so alert. Thus, in our daily life, we need to apply the theories taught in the book to better training our System 1 and System 2, and to better understanding ourselves to avoid bias.
Today is definitely not an easy day for teenager Joe. His new manager is coming today, so he cannot be late. However, unfortunately, our teenager Joe has been waiting for bus for half an hour. He was very anxious and keeps complaining about the bus. He thinks that he was out of luck. Each time when I am in a rush and wait for a bus, this bus is bound to be late. The bus seems to have a grudge against me. This psychology is called loss aversion. In fact, buses are not designed and run against one person. Teenager Joe was late for 1 hour in total, so his manager is really mad. He lost his job. Oh, what a bad day. But no worry, teenager Joe graduated from the best university in the city. So the second day after he lost the job, he received 2 calls from hand hunting company. There are 2 offers waiting for him. The first company provided offer with 2,000 euros more compared to the second company, while the second one has 10 days more annual leave. Teenager Joe started thinking, both of them are attractive. Salary is just as tempting as annual leave. Which one should I choose? While he was deep in thought, the phone is ringing. This call is from the first company. They asked Joe if he would like to take the opportunity. Teenager Joe felt the HR is so polite, so said yes and started looking forward to the new job and new life, and he turned down second offer. Although 10 minutes ago, teenager Joe thought both offers are equally attractive, now he only feels 2,000 euros is tempting for him. This is called endowment effect. When you own something, you value it far more than you did before.
Over the years, Uncle Joe always heard of people making money out of money by buying stocks. He couldn't help but wonder, now I have some savings, why not have a try? But which one to choose? Then he thinks of a tech company that produces smartphones. Their latest products are selling well on the market. Their ads look really cool with all the high-tech elements. Their CEO has a charming personality and gives good speech. There has always been good reviews from people around. So Uncle Joe decided to spend all of his savings on this company. However, a week later, a scandal of forced labor was revealed. Its stock plummeted. Gone with its reputation is Uncle Joe's savings. Uncle Joe gathered all these information fragments over the time and had them made into a coherent story using both systems. The story was so perfectly coherent that it provided him a strong subjective feeling of confidence that this company is doing well and will do better in the future. This feeling is called overconfidence. It is so common and intuitive and always results in bias and illusions. In fact, it is wise for all of us to admit the uncertainty lies within the story while making decisions.
Let's go to next big idea, 2 selves, experiencing self and remembering self. Firstly, duration neglect. One day, Lucy and Joy are both in a cafe. Joy clicked with Lucy at first sight and they got married. Their lives were very happy and they almost never quarreled. But after 7 years, Joy cheated and fell in love with his colleague Annie, and he filed for divorce. Lucy was mad, thinking that her marriage was a complete failure. Lucy's remembering self was disappointed. Every time she talked about her marriage, she thought it was a waste of her life. But in fact, she ignored that she has experienced 7 years of happiness. Her life was so pleasant, and only the last 6 months was awful and desperate. This is the duration neglect and pick and roll. The end moment was enlarged infinitely in her memory. It's the same feeling as watching a movie. Only the climax and end were cared about. Rather than caring about the hero's life experience, audiences are more concerned about whether the hero's marriage ended satisfactorily and whether the final moments of life are peaceful. Therefore, when making decisions, memory may be biased. It may cause experiencing self endure more pain and less happiness. Secondly, focusing illusion. After divorce, Lucy thought her single life would be lonely and painful. She said, "My life would never be good." Over time and time again, Lucy enjoyed her work and was promoted to manager. Spent time on shopping, she became rich. She feels that after years, her life is still full and happy. Her hope and joy was not lost because of divorce. This is focusing illusion that makes effective forecasting biased. Lucy gave too much weight to divorce, and focusing illusion exaggerate the fact effect of this reason. She ignored other determinants on life happiness and satisfaction. People believe what you see is all there is, but nothing in life is as important as you think it is when you are thinking about it. Focusing on one influencing factor may lead to ignoring the actual main reason, then make a decision with misjudgment.
So far, we have talked about the central arguments and their applicabilities in this book. Now let's turn to the limitations. The first limitation is that many concepts are generated from experiments with small participants, so the sample size may influence the final conclusion's accuracy. Secondly, due to the specific conditions required by psychological experiments, the application of conclusions may be limited. And the final limitation is that although there are some arguments and disputes in this book, they haven't been treated properly. Thanks for your watching.